What's going on, guys? This is Wes from WeezerTech. Today I'm going to do a little bit of a how-to video on how to extend the wireless range in your home using nothing but an older router. So an older wireless access point, guys, this is all you need to extend the wireless range in your house. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start. The first thing you're going to want to do is to do your research on first of all, what your older router model is, as well as what your primary router settings are. So just get familiar with that. And the first thing you'll want to do here is to go to www.dd-WRT.com. DD-WRT is a third-party firmware that you can install on many different models of old home wireless routers. It really unlocks the full potential of your router. It gives you access to new features such as wireless repeater mode, so you can repeat the signal coming from a different wireless router. So that's what we're doing today, and we'll need this firmware to begin. So come here and then go to the router database link. And from here, we're going to search for the model of your router. So in my case, I'm using an old E3000 router. And it shows up right here. So I'm going to click on that. Now down here, we see a few newer versions, or the latest versions here. But the first thing I will recommend doing is read up, do your research. You don't want to brick your old router. So for my purposes, I'm going to come here to this Linksys E3000 wiki. And this wiki will really describe, the process of flashing your router. So right here, I have my flashing instructions, step by step. That's what I need. I'm going to download the trailed initial flash build. You're going to want to do a hard reset on the router. So follow these instructions, guys, from step 1 to step 20, or whatever your router is. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to download the very first version here. This is the first build I need to install. Depending on your make and model, you will have to flash your router multiple times. In my case, I flash it twice to get where I want to go. Okay, so that's downloaded. Now before I leave here, I'm going to also, because I did my research, I'm going to also download the next build that I want. And that is going to be this mini build. All right, now that that's done downloading, I can exit out of here. The next thing you want to do is cable your router via Ethernet cable to your PC. So you want to connect an Ethernet cable from one of the LAN switches on the router, not the internet port or the WAN port, but one of the LAN connections to the back of your PC. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and disconnect from my Wi-Fi and then enable my Ethernet, which is connected directly to my router. From here, open up a web browser. Okay, and go to the IP address of your router. So typically this is 192.168.1.1, as it is for me. And this is the default username and password on my Linksys, which is admin. Oh, let's try that again. From here, we're going to want to go to the administration tab and then go to Firmware Upgrade. Here we're going to choose the file that we just downloaded. So I'm going to start with the first version here that I got. Open that up and start upgrade. This will take a few minutes, guys, so be patient. Give it some time. It's going to flash the firmware and it's going to reboot the router. So I'm going to skip ahead on this part here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my router username. All right. So that changes the password and the username. Once here, we are going to upgrade the firmware once more because I want to be on the latest version. So I'm going to go to Administration and then Firmware Upgrade. All of these router menus are pretty straightforward, very similar to each other. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to choose Reset to Default Settings. And then I'm going to choose that second file that I downloaded. And we're going to upgrade. And I'm going to fast forward here. Alright guys, so the firmware has been upgraded once again, and here we are at the build I want to be at. So now I have to once more set my username and password for the router. Okay, and now we're in. So now we can begin to configure DD-WRT as we need to be for our uses. Okay, so to begin, we want to go to the Wireless tab, Basic Settings. As you can see here, I have a dual band router, 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. With a dual band router, you have a few more options than you would with a single band router, and so I'll show you how to do this on a dual band. On the 2.4 gigahertz band, what we're going to do is set this up as a repeater. I'm going to leave it in mixed mode because it will automatically pick the correct band for me. For the SSID, I have to put it exactly as my primary router's SSID. So for that, it is Supernova for me. The wireless channel, I know mine's on wireless channel 6, and that's why I'm going to leave it here. If you know yours, you can choose which one. However, if you do not know it, simply put auto. My channel width is 20 megahertz, so I'm going to leave that. The wireless SSID broadcast I will leave as enabled. And sensitivity range I will leave as 2000. Network configuration bridged. Now for my 5 gigahertz band, I'm going to do it a little bit differently. You have two options here. You can do either a repeater bridge or a client bridge. The repeater bridge will allow you to broadcast the 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi range in addition to using the LAN ports on the actual router. Using the repeater the repeater option, it will repeat the wireless signal, but it will cut the signal bandwidth speed in about half. So right, for this one, client bridge will allow you to use the LAN ports on your router. Basically, this ties the two routers together. Same thing as this, except this one allows you to use the wireless range, so I'm going to go ahead and use this one. I'm going to leave this as in only because I know that my 5 gigahertz range is on in. For the wireless network name, I'm going to put this as black hole, as that is my 5 gigahertz band. I'm going to leave the wireless channel as auto because I have no clue which one it is. And the channel width I will set as 40 megahertz. Wireless SSD broadcast, sensitivity range 2000, and network configuration bridged. I'm going to here save my settings. Do not click apply settings yet. We will do that at the end. Next, go to wireless security and set your wireless security the exact same as you have it on your primary router. This will ask you to do it for each band that you have. So for my 2.4 or wireless LAN 0, I will put WPA2 personal, AES, and my password. And I'll do the same thing here, WPA2 personal, AES and save. All right, next part, we go to setup, basic setup. Our connection type is now disabled. For the router name, you can put in anything you want here. For my purposes, I'll just leave it as DD-WRT. For your router IP settings, here you're going to want to put the local IP address of the router to be something that is not currently in use. You do not want this to be the same IP as your primary router, and you do not want this to be something that's already in use on the network. Now, my primary router's IP is 192.168.1.254. So for here, I could leave it as 1.1, but as most routers are set to 1.1, I will use .2 here. Subnet mask is 255.255.255.0. That's fine. For your gateway and your local DNS, you will want to put the IP of your primary router. I'm going to assign the WAN port as a switch port because I won't need that anymore. And I'm going to set my correct time zone. I'm in Central Time, so I'm going to go ahead and use UTC -5 and save. From here, I'm going to hit Apply Settings. Now, because I changed the IP address of my router, I'm going to have to go back up here and reflect that change. And now I'm back at the setup page. As you can see, I will have to log back in. But all my settings have stayed, and they are now pushed to the router. Go ahead and go over to your status page, go to the wireless. And for each of these interfaces here, we're going to want to go down to Site Survey. Go to your SSID and click Join. If joined successfully, you'll get this message. Now I'm going to do that again once more for my 5 gigahertz band, which is wireless LAN 1. Site survey. And I'm going to join this to the 5 gigahertz band, which is black hole. So let's make this a little bit bigger. Black hole and join. You may need to reboot your computer to refresh your IP settings, or simply go to the command prompt and type in IP config/release and then IP config/renew. This will take a second, but basically this is going to refresh the IP settings on your computer in order to properly work with the new router that you just set up. Right now, I'm directly connected to the router, so I'm going to test to see if that works, and then we'll also test to make sure that the wireless broadcast is working. Okay, so notice how it automatically switched to black hole 2. That's the network that we assigned that the repeater bridge. So that is going to handle the LAN access ports. So let's go ahead and test to see if we can get to engadget.com. And there we go. So right now I have my E3000 router sitting on my desk, plugged into power as well as plugged into my PC. And it is connected to my primary router in the other room via a wireless connection over the 5 gigahertz band. And I'm getting internet connected directly to my PC. So now if I'm going to disable this network, and I'll go ahead and connect to one of the Wi-Fi bands, Let's connect to Supernova here. And let's see if we can get internet access through that. And there we go. Go one more. Let's go to Rotten Tomatoes. And once again, we have internet access. So that's all there is to it, guys. I hope this video was informative for you. And yeah, catch you next time.